You ever watch some of the YouTube gurus and after the video's over, you kind of felt like you were more troubled about how to start than when you started watching their video? I think we've all had somebody in our past that we knew. Had one guy in particular that was a trip, and he would come into the office, and if there were pizza boxes everywhere, he'd run up to the window. Hey, what's everybody having for lunch? I'm buying. Oh, we just ate. Oh, darn. Well, I'll catch you next time. What? He wouldn't ever say that if there weren't obvious signs that everybody had already eaten lunch. It's kind of how I feel about some of the gurus on YouTube. They've got all this helpful stuff that actually is kind of a stumbling block. Like, you know what? You don't have to have this $35,000 studio like I have. You could try making videos with just a white wall behind you. Probably nobody's going to watch, but you could try it. Now, the thing is, I've seen that particular person when they just had a white wall behind them, and what they did is they stuck a red and a blue LED pointed at the wall. Well, now they've got this colorful background. They don't have this red and blue, this solid white wall. So, and they knew it because they've used it. Well, why didn't they include that tip? Well, I have this $35,000 backdrop, and I'm using an $8,000 camera and a $6,000 lens. Well, that sounds like an obstacle more than a solution. Now, but you don't need it. Is it nice to have it? It is. And you really don't need it. But the way they present it, it actually feels more like an obstacle than assistance. There's a lot of things that are like that. You hear one guru expert, hey, you can't use a shotgun mic inside a room. Well, then, okay, they've been using shotgun mics to do studio recordings forever. That's what the guys are holding on the end of those booms over everybody's head, so there's not a mic in the shot. You've got the people that you've got to have these $500 acoustic panels to deaden your room. Well, do they help? Sure, they help, but do you need them? What you need is good enough audio. Listen, I'm in an 18-wheeler. As far as sound quality goes, I'm not going to be able to do any voiceovers, but getting your microphone close to your mouth is a bigger thing than having room treatment. The closer your mic is to your mouth, the less the environment is picked up. You can have your gain set at a lower level. The microphone being really close to your mouth, the noise from your mouth is way louder than the echo from your room. But I will tell you that the audio quality is important. I watched a guy on a fishing video one time. He sits at a little table, he says what he's going to do, and he's going to tell us these tips, and it's going to be great. And then he goes out into his garage, and it sounds like he's in Carlsbad Cavern or something, and it's very difficult to understand him. I didn't watch the video. To me, it wasn't worth it as hard as it was to understand him. He sat in the absolute worst place in that garage that he could have, and he's talking to his camera 7 feet away. It's terrible, terrible. So those are the little things that, in my opinion, getting the microphone closer. Now, I know this doesn't not make me look like Madonna, I hope, and it doesn't make me look like one of the guys doing a TED Talk, but they use these. There's no rule that says you can't see somebody's microphone. I notice the latest little trend is everybody's taking their little handheld microphones and they're holding them right in front of them. But now they do sound better that way. So there is a plus side to it. As far as time to make videos and things like that, I have 1 day a week off. The other 6 days, I'm in this truck. And so I edit everything on a mobile device. I use LumaFusion. It's not a free program, but it's a $30 program for the basic program, and I think it's a really good deal. You can use iMovie. There's other things for Android. I just happen to like LumaFusion. And if I can find a way, and that's the reason I'm making this video today, but if I can find a way to make a video with my work schedule, you can find a way to make a video. I have 4 channels that I do distinctly different things on, because none of those 4 channels really mesh together well. That's just my choice. But if you wait until everything's perfect, you're not ever going to make a video. And if you listen to the gurus, in my opinion, their primary mission is to get you to watch their whole video. Well, I'm going to tell you about this in just a second, and it's going to be toward the end of the video. And I don't skip ahead, and you hear all those little phrases in there, and at the end of the video, you're scratching your head and you're thinking, wow, I thought I was ready to go, but I don't know now. I've watched, as an example, a lot of woodworking videos. And each person, we'll talk about the compound sliding miter saw. Each person has some little thing that they think is their secret sauce for the way they operate the saw that they hold back. You know, it's really easy. You do this, 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 and this, and that, but they don't tell you all of the details that you really need to know, the important things. But this guy's secret sauce is this guy's secret sauce is something else, and this guy's secret sauce is something else. If you listen to enough of these people, you kind of place it together. Now, one little trick that I saw, everybody was doing the same thing, but nobody was saying why they did it. If you watched them and paid close attention, you noticed they're all making the same cut the same way, but nobody talked about it. And one guy did not think that was his magic beans, and he let it slip why he did that process. And just to verify, I went back, and everybody else was doing the same thing, but nobody was talking about it. If you can piece together all of these different guru things, everybody's got their own secret sauce. Everybody's got their own thing that they're not going to tell you about. But if you listen to enough of them, each one thinking their little secret that they're not going to share with you, but everybody's little secret is different. One of the secrets I hear, name your folder or your video the same as your video title. Some people say, oh, that's a waste of time. Other people say, oh, you have to do that. Well, I don't know. But my thinking is, if you do name the title the same as, or your video the same as the title of your video, then I'm not sure what I said right there. I was preoccupied with driving. I'm sorry. I'm going to say this again. If you name your video the same as the title of your video, then is it going to help? I don't know. But if you don't do it, I know it won't help. So for me, it takes seconds to do it. You're not hurting it. I'm confident that it doesn't hurt. I can't tell you that it does help, but for no longer than it takes to name your video the same as the title you're going to use on YouTube, just do it or don't. I don't think it makes any difference, but I can't tell you it does. I can't tell you it doesn't. But it's not a huge time waster. one of the things for microphones back on sound for your rooms and stuff like that is keeping your distance to your microphone consistent. Now, I'm wearing this funky little headset. Yes, it's dark in this tunnel. Sorry. I'm wearing this funky little Madonna headset. It keeps the microphone a consistent distance from my mouth, and that's where my sound is coming from. Akin to the sound coming from the truck, I'm wanting to hear the sound coming from my mouth. I have to turn my head when I'm looking in my rear view mirrors and stuff like that in here. If you're doing some kind of a hobby where, let's just say, you're doing some kind of a craft work and you're doing some acrylic stuff, it's more important that we hear you, and you need to move around quite a bit when you're doing that. So as you're moving around in relation to your microphone, it's kind of important that it goes with you. Now, the boom mics and the shotgun mics are kind of gone from the studios. If you notice, most of the newscasters, they're using a lav mic, and that's okay if you're seated and you're not moving a lot. But even with the lav mic, say the distance to my mouth is here, well, if I turn my head over here, it not only changes the relation from the mouth to the microphone, but it also, now you're going to hear echo coming from the window of my truck. So all of those little things make a big factor in the way you sound, and the sound really is more important than what the video is. I'm just going to put myself as a little personage down in the corner of this video, but and let you look at the scenery here. In case anybody's interested, I am in Wind River Canyon in Wyoming, between Shoshone and Cody. So, or actually between Shoshone and Thermopolis. That's where about how far the canyon runs. Beautiful run. I get to do this a lot. So you get to see my little ugly mug in the bottom corner, and you get to see this beautiful scenery out the window of my office. All of these little things add up to, you need to start a YouTube channel to have a YouTube channel. The only way to never fail is to never try, but that kind of makes you always fail. The biggest thing is just getting started. And I look back at some of my early videos, as much as I talk about how important sound is, I look back at some of my early videos on one of my channels and I'm thinking, my gosh, I published that? It's terrible. And it was actually a thing about audio. So I've come a little ways, made some progress. The sound from my phone, if I weren't using this, and by the way, this microphone is attached to a Tascam DR10L Pro. It's a lot of wedding photographers use that. It's a little bitty tiny microphone. It's in my shirt pocket. I'm not going to try to dig it out while I'm driving through the canyon. Maybe I'll throw a shot of it up on the screen so you can see what it looks like. But the sound from this phone, I'll give you a little taste of it in just a second, but I'm going to warn you, it's not going to sound good. And I'll even give you a little tiny sound clip from the camera in the windshield, keeping in mind it's pointed out the windshield and it's inches from the windshield. So that's really about all it's going to pick up, is just the noise from the windshield. It would be totally non-usable in here. The only thing that I used it for, I'm going to sync this. Maybe I shouldn't use funny words that maybe not everybody is familiar with. I'm going to synchronize the audio from this little recorder and my phone and that camera. And before I started all of this stuff, I kind of got in a quiet place and gave them a couple of hand claps like the little clapper boards that they use. So I'll synchronize that and then cut that little piece off where I first got started. But I'm going to go for right now. I'll show you this. I'm going to cut to the camera to the phone. All right. This is the audio from the phone, and keeping in mind I'm not really in the throttle right now. I'm not making a lot of noise with the truck. This is about as quiet as it gets going slow through these curves. All right. Now I'm back on this microphone, and I'm going to cut a very brief cut to the main camera looking out the windshield. All right, this is the camera looking out the windshield, and okay, that's enough of that. Now I'm back on this microphone. So is this good enough to do voiceover work? Absolutely not, but it's good enough to convey the points that I'm trying to convey today. And I hope I haven't rambled for you too much. Let me back out of it a little bit, help this guy get around me. There's a not very many passing zones through here, so you know, if I cooperate with the motoring public, I'll make less people angry. So if I slow down just a little bit, take 10 seconds out of my day, I can help him. That's kind of what I like to do. I like to help people. I like to help you. This channel is not monetized at this point. If it ever becomes monetized, it obviously won't hurt my feelings. I do have some affiliate links for microphones and things down in the description. I do own a shotgun mic that I just bought. It's a Cinco. Don't remember the model number on it. I'll throw that up on the screen. I'm going to be setting up a couple of places to record at home. My thing, I don't have fancy studios, but I've got different things I do on my different channels, and I do those in different locations. And what I've had to do in the past was rip everything down, move it, rip everything down, move it, rip everything down, move it. What I'm trying to do now is I'm going to have a place to record these videos, one for these, and this one is obviously I don't have a studio for this. This is a mobile studio. That's what it is. This is a mobile studio. So I don't know. Yeah, that's it. It's a mobile studio. Breaker 19. Okay, all right. So just get started with your channel. Listen to a whole bunch of the gurus and see if you can muddle through some of the things that they're trying to tell you. You don't need a super fancy camera. The camera looking out the windshield is an Insta360 Ace Pro. I think it does an okay job. It's a GoPro-ish kind of camera. You could use a GoPro. This is my phone, and it's the screen side camera, which is a 1080p camera. So, you know, there's nothing fancy about it. It would look better if I turned it around the other way, but I didn't have a good mount to do that with. So make do with something, but just get started. And I probably rambled as much as anybody could stand for today. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. That's one thing that's important to me. If you go to, I've got one video with 300 or 3 million views and 3,000, I think it's 3,000 or so, 3,500 comments, and I've answered all of them. It may take me a day or two because I can't obviously do it while I'm going down the road, but when I stop, I go check my comments and see what's there. To me, that's important. If I don't have time to do that, then I'm just in it for me. You can chase trends if you want to. I am not into chasing trends. That's another big key for me. If you're wanting to start a YouTube channel, pick something that you think you can do forever. If you're getting into this just to turn it into a business, to quit your day job, there is a tiny amount of people that have the ability to do that. It's just not something that happens to a large majority of people. I don't have the Robert Redford look, but I'm going to tell you, I've seen a couple of people that have very popular channels, and they're further away from Robert Redford than I am. All right, I'm not calling any names out, but that's just the fact. And I will tell you that I also don't think good looks hurt you at all. There are some scantily clad females that do pretty good only for the reason that they're scantily clad females. That's just life. That's human nature, and that's just the way it's going to be. Find something that you like to do that you can do for a long period of time. One point about the chasing trends, a trend by definition is not going to be a trend for very long. So if you chase trends, you're always going to be right after that. I mean, it's just, you're going to have to stay on top of it. This kind of falls over to the monetization window. So to be monetized, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And I know, yes, there is a lower threshold, 500 and 3,000. I'm not even going to go there. So we're talking about actual monetization. The problem is with 4,000 watch hours, it's all over a 365-day period. So if you hit one viral, kind of viral-ish video, let's say you get 17, 18, 20,000 views in the first week, and then it kind of dwindles off because that little fad was over. Well, in the week of the 365th day, all of those go away. So today you're going to gain some views. You post a video or previous videos, whatever anybody watches that's an older video, you get that view today. But beyond the 365 days, if you've got a really big video, that one's going to drop off and your count's actually going to go backwards. Your watch hours have the potential to go backwards. So make videos about a subject you're passionate about. That kind of translates through, I think. If you really, really enjoy it, like the guys that work with their wood lathes and stuff like that, the people that do crafting with whatever it is, acrylics or whatever, those people are really passionate about the things that they do, and it shines through. And most of those people do pretty well. If you're just in it for the money to replace your day job, I don't know. I don't think for the average person that's going to go very far. If I make a few bucks here and there, that doesn't hurt my feelings at all. One thing I saw a guy do, his point of view, he did a video explaining why he did his videos. And he did his videos, he was actually a blacksmith, and he built things for his kids and his grandkids on camera. Well, when his grandkids grow up, they have the option to go back and watch the video where Grandpa made this thing. They can tell their kids, my grandpa made this for me, and here's how he did it. So it's a legacy thing for him, and it could be a legacy thing for you. My experience, I had my grandfather on my mom's side, he built his own boats. He was a shift worker. He worked midnights, and I hardly ever got to see him actually do anything with his boats. Every month when we went out there to visit, I would see the progress he'd made as he was building a new boat, but I never got to actually watch him build the boats. If he'd had a YouTube channel, I would have loved to have gone back and watched that, because not only was a guy building a boat, but my grandfather was building a boat. My dad's dad passed away when my dad was 18. I never met the man. I've seen one picture of him. There's as far as I know, one photograph that exists of my grandfather on my dad's side. Never heard the man's voice, don't know his mannerisms. If he'd had a YouTube channel way back then, I would be able to go back and see that. So this is something that for me is kind of a legacy thing. If I never make any money off of this, I like helping people just like I helped that car get around me in the canyon back there. I like to help people. And if this helps somebody, great. Pass it on, share it with somebody else you think it might help. If I never make a dime off of it, I don't care. If it helps somebody, that's my primary focus. If you can keep that as your primary focus, over time, the monetization may come. You can have affiliate links. I got a whole bunch of affiliate links in my description. I'll make a buck or two off of that now and then, and I don't promote anything that I don't like. I've got over the time period, and I like all of the stuff, the DR10L Tascam. I bought that with my own money. I've got a Tascam DR07X. That's got little stereo mics on it that you can adjust. I like to do sound effects with that. Wonderful microphone. Recorder, I should say. Those are the kinds of things I do. And I know this rambled a little bit, and I'm not really going to edit any of this, even the mistakes that I made. I'm not going to edit this out, just for the fact that this is real life, and this is my life. So keep in mind the audio quality of this in this noisy environment. If I can make this usable audio, you can certainly make the audio in your house usable. Dynamic mics are a decent way to go. Cardioid pattern. They pick up in one primary direction, and that helps with your room acoustics a lot. You need to get it fairly close to you so you don't have to pump up a lot of gain. If you pump up a lot of gain, you can bring in noises even other than your room noise. So, but if you're just getting started, don't worry so much about everything being perfect. Don't worry if people can see your microphone. It's even trendy in some circles to see the microphone, so you have bragging rights. I've got a Pile dynamic mic I paid $17 for. An audio interface I paid like $35 for, and if you turn the gain down on that and get close to that little microphone, it sounds decent. And if there's not an A-B comparison, without an A-B comparison, you think, oh, that microphone sounds really good. Well, then you throw in the A-B. That's another confusing technique to me that people use. They use the A-B thing. Here's a $17 mic. Well, here's a $400 mic. And, oh, well, if you listen to them side by side, you can hear the difference. But if you just listen to the $17 mic, you would have thought, oh, that sounds good. All right, so it's good enough to get you started. I'm going to quit rambling now because I'm getting into traffic and I don't want to distract myself from my day job. Anyway, I appreciate it. I'm going to throw a couple of videos up over on the side over here, one up here that I'll throw up, and then YouTube's going to throw one down here. I'll catch you in one of those, or I'll catch you guys down the road.